If someone asked me what was my favorite horror film of all time, I'm gonna say The Shining. The Shining is my favorite horror film. Some days, my favorite film of all time. Last month, I got to go watch The Shining in theaters for its anniversary. And now we're here for the movie that I have been waiting for all year long. One of my most anticipated movies of the year. And I had to drive through a thunderstorm to get to this busy road theater just to watch this movie 9 days early. Here we go. Dr. Sleep. This is the sequel to the cult classic, The Shining. Yes, this movie, Dr. Sleep, is a sequel to The Shining. That is just scary-some to say. This movie is a sequel to oh my goodness, the next chapter. Mike Flanagan wrote, directed, and edited this movie, and he also directed Ouija, Origin of Evil, which is a good one. He did the entire season showrunner of Haunting of Hill House, which is a great Netflix show. He did Gerald's Game, which was a Netflix movie that was a Stephen King thing, and now he's here. And he did under a movie called Oculus. The man knows how to make horror films. Horror films that are just creepy, crawly, and have tones and themes. This is the perfect project for him. This movie is based off the book written by Stephen King, which came out in 2013. It is a sequel to The Shining, but this movie, again, if you guys don't know, The Shining, the original Shining movie is not, it's a great movie. It's an amazing movie, Stanley Kubrick, but it's not really focused on the book. Like, Stephen King hates the original Shining. He hates it. He doesn't like it, anything like that. But that movie was a cult classic. Everyone loves it. So Mike Flanagan had to direct this movie, a movie that could adapt the Dr. Sleep book and also please fans of the original movie. This movie stars Ewan McGregor as Danny Torrance, who is an adult version. He grows up and he is a drug addict. He is a drinker. He's trying to get his memories out of the Overlook Hotel, out of his head. He's trying to get rid of The Shining itself. He grows up and he just finds out this little girl has a power just as strong as him with the Shining power. And there's this group of evil people out there led by Rebecca Ferguson. And they are there to kill people and take the Shining power and absorb it. And they find out this girl is alive with the seriously strong power of the Shining. They want her. And so Danny Torrance must decide to save this girl or just be a drunk. And the movie's 2.5 hours long, and like I said, I have been so excited for this movie, and I am here to tell you guys, this is the best sequel we are ever gonna get to a live adaptation of the book and the movie of The Shining. This movie did not disappoint me whatsoever. It exceeded my expectations. I was going this movie very okay, give me a good movie. Mike Flanagan knocks it out of the park. I mean, he makes this his movie. This is a Mike Flanagan movie. Yes, he does do recreation scenes and recreate certain scenes from the original Shining, but this is his movie. His style, his dialogue, this is his camera work, cinematography, all of it is amazing. I applaud this man. He had the hardest job. Take the book and take this 1980s classic, mix them together, and give us an equal opportunity for fans of the book to like this movie and fans of the original movie to like the movie so they can equal up and give us both parts. And that is hard to do because I'm going to say this first things first. The story of Dr. Sleep. Now, I actually have not read the Dr. Sleep book, but watching this movie, most of this movie is that book. And it was fantastic. I loved the story. I loved what they did with Danny Torrance. Ewan McGregor as Danny, just thumbs up. I mean, it's Ewan McGregor as him. I don't know if we've talked about it. He's great. The little girl in this movie was fantastic. But the one that stole the movie for acting-wise, Rebecca Ferguson as this leader. She is evil, despicable, and sometimes funny. She was a great villain. She was awesome. Awesome. Knocked it out of the park. I loved her in every scene in this movie. And her little group was terrifying. This movie does not hold back. There are scenes that you're like, oh my god, you're like, are they really? And you're just like, what? And you can't talk. You're just like, this is disturbing. Now, I will say this movie is not, I wouldn't say it was scary. Because the original Shining is a psychological, scary, intense thriller, psychological movie. This movie deals with themes. It makes you sad, it makes you laugh, and it gets you disturbed, creep out, which is the best kind of scary. It makes you just goosebumps up your skin crawling, and I loved it. Mike Flanagan he fucking nailed it. He nailed it. He is such an underrated horror director these days. Of course, we got Ari Aster and the guy who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. Those are great and going to be great careers for them. But Mike Flanagan, man, he makes hit after hit after hit. And you think it's going to be a failure, but no, he's like, hey, Oculus, bam, great. Ouija, bam, great. Oh, you gave me Gerald's Game? Bam, great. I made my own freaking show. And guess what? Now I got to do this Shining sequel, and I'm, bam, knocked out the park. He kills it. I loved his direction. I loved everything he did with his choices. And the acting is great. The movie is very bloody. There's a few shocking, surprising actors I had no idea in this movie. And I enjoyed the camaraderie of the entire story. Again, the Dr. Sleep story, I loved. I love the originality. I love how different this movie felt. Yes, it's a sequel to The Shining, but this movie doesn't really rely onto The Shining. I'll get that back in a minute. It doesn't wholly, it just sits there and relies on The Shining. It's its own movie. It's its own sequel, own story, characters and stuff driven from the original movie. That makes a good sequel. That makes it different, fresh, original. And it's not just a complete rehash. Now, there are some great little nods to Stanley Kubrick. There is one scene in an office. It's two characters talking in an office. But if you're a fan of the original movie, that office looks very familiar. That's all I'm going to say about that little Easter egg. But there's many more I'm not even going to mention other stuff. Now, like I said a few minutes ago about relying on pretty much the Shining movie. Like I said, the Dr. Sleep story was fantastic. I'm not going to get into spoilers. The third act of this movie, the crowd cheered on certain scenes and certain things pop up. I was one of those people that were just grinning and smiling. I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. But I can recognize Mike Flanagan was like, I know I'm doing the Dr. Sleep story, Stephen King, but these fans of the original movie need to have something because we can't just make a book adaptation because this movie is a sequel to The Shining of the 1980s one. So we gotta have something for the fans to just, the fans of the film to just love on. And me as a fan of the film, I loved on the stuff, but I can say it felt very like, here you go, audience. I know you've been waiting for it. Here you go. So I will say there are things in the third act they do very much like say, yes, the scene's happening. Yes, it's important for the story, but it kind of feels very like, here you go, fan service kind of moments. I loved it. But I can say to you guys, it is fan service. There is definitely moments of that. But I mean, the third act itself, its whole section of the movie did feel different from the Dr. Sleep story. The whole movie is just, it's so good and enthralling. When they go into the third act, I don't want to spoil it because I don't really want to get into it, but it deals with more of the original movie. It very feels that the studio kind of had Mike Flanagan on a lock and said, we need you to do this, even though he wrote the movie. I feel like they're like, we need this in here because we need to please both fans, the book and the movie, which is the hardest job to do. And for what he did, I gotta give him credit. I was like, yes, give it to me. But I can't say it's fan service. I don't know if it's really a criticism because I was enjoying all this stuff, but it was very much like, yeah, Mike Flanagan, I have to please both fans, and he did the best he could, and I gotta give him credit for that. Another thing I would say, no spoilers, like I said, there are certain decisions they make with certain recreations. I think with today's technology, I think certain things could have been done to make fans even more happy about certain things, but the decision he made was very noticeable. But to me, it felt like it was Mike Flanagan's point of view, like he wanted to do this decision. But I'm just saying, we have enough technology to do certain things I think they could have done. Again, no spoilers, but if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I mean. But I mean, it does come out in 9 days, so a lot of you hadn't seen it. But overall, the acting is great. The directing is fantastic. The writing is super amazing. The 2.5 hours long, to me, it felt breezy to me. I was into the movie. I was sucked in. Ian McGregor is great. The cast, everyone's great. Rebecca Ferguson stole the entire movie. It was great to see a sequel to The Shining and it not be shit. And of course, of course it's not better than The Shining. I mean, come on. But if I had any criticisms, certain decisions on characters' decisions of using certain aspects of either technology or some things, again, can't spoil it. And I definitely feel like the third act felt very apart from the entire movie. I enjoyed the third act. It just felt very much like fan service. And then we got the Dr. Sleep story, which I very much loved. I would have not minded if Dr. Sleep didn't have that third act. I would have liked more different original things, but they did have to have this third act because, again, we need the fan service from the original movie to like this movie. And I was one of those, but I definitely liked Dr. Sleep more storyline, a little bit more, not gonna lie. I'm gonna give Dr. Sleep an A-. I think this is the best Stephen King live adaptation we've gotten since the 2017 It. That was really good, and this was even good. I'm even like this one more, because again, I'm a huge, The Shining is like that movie. I watched that movie literally 2 days ago, prepared for this movie. But like I said, I think it is a satisfying sequel. I say go and see it. If you are a fan of The Shining, go and see it. It is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I cannot wait for you guys to see it next Friday. I can't wait to see it again. Thank you, Fandango, for letting me see it 9 days early. Appreciate that a lot. Anyway, guys, if you guys enjoy this review, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.